Michael Carlito transferred to Suco in the fall of 1972. He immediately got involved on campus on the Program Policy Board, or PPB. The PPB brought a variety of activities to students on campus. One day, Carlito came across an outside program called Videotape Network.
Well, I got some material from a company called Videotape Network, or VTN, and they had this concept: rent these movies, put them on campus, and use these movies as an added activity.
Throughout the next year, Carlito brainstormed about the idea of how he could develop it further. He sought advice from a radio and television professor, Erwin Thomas. They imagined a stage on which to not only have their voices heard, but have students practice their craft and get involved.
We sat down and talked, and we started to brainstorm about doing something that's more student-produced.
Ultimately, Carlito and Erwin's idea was to run a 20 to 30-minute program before each film that was completely original. The concept, although daunting, was quite simple. All the work was to be written, shot, edited, and directed solely by students. Carlito petitioned the Student Association for a grant of $1,000 to buy the films and the tape equipment from VTN. He wrote a petition to the SA entitled A Possibility, emphasizing that students should have the option to produce something great, something based on their imagination and potential. The petition was then granted.
The following year, in the fall of 1973, films were projected on closed-circuit television across campus. A half a dozen meetings later, he gathered a crew, and before the semester was over, Campus in the Making, Oswego's first student-run television show, was broadcast throughout campus. Interviews were a regular segment on the show, frequently featuring both members of the student body and faculty, both groups using the show as a platform to voice their opinions about everything from the Watergate scandal to Vietnam to the feminist movement. By the spring of 1974, after only being on the air for a few months, Campus in the Making expanded by adding an even greater variety in their content. Oftentimes, students would find themselves giving up their Saturdays to be on the set from 7:30 a.m. to midnight.
It'd be a Saturday morning, Friday night after partying all night, we would, crawl into the studio and start taping. And we had people that took on all different positions, camera people, light people, sound people, directors. The students did a very good job. I remember listening to, people who would switch out doing the directing of the taping. And for just watching, students run the program, camera one, I think we always had 3 cameras working at the same time. It was great. I always remember being impressed by it. It's like, wow, they're doing a good job,
Students were dedicated in their involvement with Campus in the Making, an entity which could have been disposed of at any time.
Everyone was dedicated. Every time we did it, everyone was there. And you can see in the photograph, even Jerry Seinfeld was part of the crew.
Although the show was adored by students on campus, some faculty members disapproved of the student-run program. Many members were against the concept, arguing that the program was a clear separation from the traditional curriculum that had become the norm in Oswego's academic environment. Professor Thomas was different.
He had to justify what we were doing because he was getting heat from his cohorts, other faculty. It could have been once or twice. He had to put himself out to keep the program going.
Thanks to his vigorous support and loyalty to the program, and despite much opposition elsewhere throughout campus, Campus in the Making returned the following year. Before leaving Oswego, Carlito was determined to ensure the survival of the program.
At the time, we were using the equipment in Poucher, where all the studios are, or were. And I wanted for us to get our own equipment and actually set up shop in the Hewitt Center.
He was allotted $10,000 to maintain a space for the program to grow and prosper.